living room. Hello, people. As you're early, if you want to say hello and ask a question or anything like that, then feel free. Early birds. If you're watching the live stream, you might want to. We're going to be live on the hour at 6 minutes from now. And if you're watching recording, then skip ahead 6 minutes. We're just going to be chatting to them. How's things, Jodie?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. What did you like yesterday? There was a lot of good sessions.
I didn't get to see that many of them. I did get the rerun of Ilan Stefani. I mean, that was just excellent.
She's good, isn't she? She's one of my favorites. And I heard the intergenerational trauma pattern was panel was very good. Ron, you were on that one, right?
Was there? Yes.
How was it?
It was just amazing. Really beautifully sinking into the depth and examples and experience. Could have gone on for 3 hours. It was really good.
Yeah, right. Half an hour is crazy for that. But it was a little bit longer. Was it 45 minutes for it? I think
right? It was nearly an hour. Okay. It was practically gonna go over the hour, when Steve was wrapping up. So
especially with you guys, oh my God, 4 teachers. So there was, and pretty cross-cultural as well, right? Like Nia from Israel, Patricia from Mexico, Alan from Germany, you from the UK.
It was, that's how it was. Me, Patricia, Vilya, and Nia. Yes, I mean in the chat it was reflected the appreciation of this breadth.
Yeah,
of different experiences, because and people were putting in the chat where they were from, and it was really resonating with people.
Yeah, I often say a lot of the American companies doing stuff, they're actually quite limited. It's all just Americans, even though they're different ethnic groups within America.
Yeah,
so North Americans, it's pretty limited.
It's quite important, I think, for people in North America, Canada, and the US that have got this this depth of different backgrounds alive in them all the time, and to have that acknowledged.
Yeah, it's not always obvious, and there isn't a lot of dialogue about, say, the Slavic piece. Like, there's a lot of Russian Americans or Irish Americans, Jewish Americans. Like, some kind of groups have worked it out more than others, I think. Like, the cross-generational stuff in Israel is quite a strong conversation. So I imagine most American Jews know about it, but I don't imagine most Irish Americans in Boston know about it. People with Ukrainian heritage, there's plenty of them in the States. So, hello, people, welcome. If you're here, I'd love to see some faces, turn some cameras on so me and Ron can teach real human beings. You can compliment my nice blue shirt my wife bought me. What do you reckon?
Oh,
so you like that one, Virginia? I got those comments on the pink yesterday, but I thought I'd go blue today, mix it up. So I actually have time to do any washing either. So I didn't leave the house yesterday. I was in the department the entire day. Just teaching and doing other stuff.
You're supposed to be embodying the example.
I'm still doing some self-care stuff. I had a bath and I did some exercise and I meditated. I just did it all in the house. And the problem is there's not much nature outside. So normally in Brighton, I leave the house to go to the park because it's really kind of resourcing. Whereas right outside is a 5-lane highway and the center of town and tourists, and no. So unless you're going to go across town to Gorky Park, it's not very eco-regulating. I mean, like where I am in Moscow, it's called Tverskaya. It's like Piccadilly Circus. I mean, it's like bam in Moscow, right in the middle. So I'm going to move my apartment next week to next to Gorky Park so I can get a bit of nature. Yeah, it's important to build your lifestyle about what resources you as well, It's like we're not all on an equal playing field, and certainly we can make some choices as to our homes. And one thing I asked for when I booked this Airbnb was a bigger Airbnb than normal, because I knew I'd be teaching on trauma and I wanted some space, like a spare bedroom and a kitchen. I didn't want it all like in one room,
See, one of the trauma recovery things for me is that thing about needing air and space and noticing it and just going out the door, rather than, oh, I'll just do this, I'll just do that. I really desperately want some air, but I'll do 100 things. But now I just go, oh, that's what I need. Off I go.
I sometimes say real trauma healing is eating when you're hungry and sleeping when you're tired. And people think it's like some Zen thing. It's not. I mean, it literally.
It's really basic.
like noticing your needs and acting upon them, right? Rather than
Yeah.
being like even not noticing the needs because you're numb, or discounting them as important because of self-esteem.
Exactly.
God, we've been gold already and we haven't even started yet. People live. I would love to see some of your faces. It's totally okay if you're walking or doing the washing up. I was in a 12-step meeting this morning while cleaning my kitchen. It's fine. It's just driving. That's good. Where are you going, Reza. That's what you'd be called if you were coming from where I come from. You'd be called Reza. I'll give you all names. Vafa, you'd be Vafa. Yeah, that works from where I come from. Elestrin, Ellie, clearly. Romy Brooks, Brookie. Kano from Brighton. Nice to see you, Andrew. I'm giving you all working class British names. Take them or leave them. Jodie's good. Marlene, Marlo, Annika, Anne. Jenny, yeah, that works. We'll go with that. Nice to see you, Jenny. Anyone else? Bettina, what would that be? Betty. Bets. You'd be Bets. Everyone's getting a working class name. Someone's got a cat's arse in the photo. Really appreciate that. It's nice to see in the picture. We're going to start in 1 minute. If you're late, I forgive you.
And it is time.
I'll shut up then.
So-
Virginia, after you.
Welcome, everybody, to a session on how to take the power back. Power, naming, trauma, and forgiveness. And to talk about that, here is Mr. Mark Walsh, Mr. Embodiment himself, who knows a fair few things about trauma since he was working no less than 5 war zones. He has worked with street kids, with the Russian LGBTQ plus community. He has worked with police, with aid workers, with 3 militaries, and he's been sober for 14 years.
Virginia, that's enough. When you move, your mic rustles, so just try
thank
to
you.
move less.
Okay, we'll keep it here then. And with him is Rhonda Brito, who is an NVC practitioner. For me, she's on the other side of the screen, Mark. So maybe for people, she's on the other side as well. There you go. She's lived through marriage, divorce, and suicide. And that drew her to nonviolent communication and embodiment. And she's a joyful, playful, it says here elder, but she's the youngest, one of the youngest people I know. I'm Virginia. I'll be hosting. If you have any Zoom questions, private message me. Thank you for those of you who are here live. It means you've done the smart thing and purchased the All Access Pass. And you
Actually, All Access Pack, when she says it, everyone has to say, fancy, ooh. If you've bought it, I want everyone to put on the reactions on Zoom, right? Put something like that. We've got these new reaction symbols on Zoom that are really childlike and I love them. So if you've bought it already because you've got 19 bucks, if, by the way, you're totally broke and you live in Ethiopia or something like that, just email us and we'll give it to you for free. Okay, but if you've got 19 bucks, give it to us because it's a bloody bargain. So lots of people bought that. But Virginia, you're a bit crackly. Shall I finish the safety stuff?
if you like, yeah.
Yeah, just it sounds a bit crackly. So as ever, this will be fast and furious with me and Ron, definitely. So if you're thinking I need some gentle group therapy right now, you're in the wrong place. There will probably be jokes and swearing and silliness. Bear that in mind. Some people are better off getting therapy one-to-one rather than learning about trauma. We're mostly aiming these sessions at people who are sort of relatively functional in their lives. And I've been to the other place, I've been there, had deep PTSD, couldn't sleep, couldn't work, couldn't love, couldn't do anything. I've been there, I don't judge that. And that's just not really what we're aiming these sessions at. And sometimes just check in with yourself that you're resourced, that you can do this driving, for example, Reza, that you're not going to crash your car, that you feel like, you know what, this is okay. I'm well resourced today. I'm in the mood for this. And don't binge watch them. We're on day 2. How many have you seen so far? Hold up fingers, Zoom people. I taught 4 yesterday. That was enough for me, I tell you. 5 Vafa. Oh my God. We recommend 3 a day, maybe 4, more than that. It's getting a little much. I noticed I had some disturbed sleep last night, which I don't normally have. So, as we go into this week, just be a little bit careful. I'm doing a lot of self-care practices. I'm guessing Ron too, so be a little bit careful with that. And, we've also got other things. We won't hard sell or anything, but if there's a sort of cheap thing on how to heal trauma rather than just talking about trauma with Ilan, who we like very much. You can get that. And there's other things on superpowers, blah, 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 blah. Welcome. This session is on forgiveness, which is a huge topic. Maybe people could put in the chat why they turned up. Ron and I are going to offer our top tips for forgiving people. But why might you want to do that? Ron, what do you think? Forgiveness, why bother?
Oh, it's a tough one. There's a lot. What I like to say is we feel hurt. We're human. We have vulnerability. We get hurt. And very often our traditions haven't given us ways of processing pain in the moment, like animals do. And sometimes the way that we grow means that pain kind of mounts up and doesn't get dealt with and doesn't get processed. Often the other people do not know that we're suffering inside. And so by the time we come to this awareness and say, oh my God, I've got all this wounding and pain, and they did this to me, or whatever. Obviously, we grow, we're influenced by caregivers and our environment and institutions around us. So there's two parts to this. One is, well, one can be how we ourselves feel into that vulnerability, feel the fact that our body is hurting. You know, I have clients who say, God, I'm just so tight, or, you know, just to go, yeah, it's like that. So beginning with awareness of it, acceptance that it's like that, getting some support in. I'm really suffering. I need some help. I need people who can listen to me. I'm a coach, so I often am in that place of going, yes, it's like that. Can we just work with you? That's my initial thing, working with the person themselves, the pain inside them, acknowledging it, and what they really needed, what they missed out on, that they really needed. Can they connect to, I needed to be listened to. I needed my voice to matter. I needed comfort. Those things. And that skill is really vital, because when we look at the people that we think, oh, if only they had behaved differently, if only they'd given me some welcome and listened to me instead of telling me, oh, that's bad, go to your bedroom, you know, or whatever. Or simply not to be chosen, not to be picked, not to be allowed to speak. If we're going to forgive those people, we've also got to feel the ease and let the pain flow through us into the air or the earth, to allow it to flow. Because otherwise, if we remain tight in our bodies and the tension and the pain stay inside of us, it often blinkers us, can't really see the other people, or whether they had no idea and they really were possibly doing the very best that they knew how to do at the time.
Ron, can I suggest everyone takes a breath? You can see some people are a bit frozen up. Take a deep breath, people, loosen the body, like Ron's saying. We can't do forgiveness without relaxing the body, I would say. And, you know, sometimes when we do trauma work, with trauma education, people start thinking about the worst things that have ever happened to them. Or in this session, I imagine it would be like, who do I need to forgive? And I just encourage people to stay with their bum on the chair, stay, you know, in the room you're in with the breath you have, as much as you're able to today, with us, you know, present with us. So that will be, I think, in your best interest as well. One little practical thing, could people not side chat? We will potentially ask you have questions, but it's just really distracting for the teachers, me and Ron, when it comes up on the screen. Appreciate that. You know, Ron, one thing I've often said is not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and hoping they die. So often my clients say to me, like, why should I forgive them? They did da 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 da. I'm like, I know they probably did terrible things. And the first thing I really established with them is like, this is for you, not for them, right? Like, this is for your well-being. Like, and my personal experience is when I have a resentment, I hate when I carry it around, I'm increasing my cortisol levels, I'm pissing myself off all day long, re-traumatizing myself, whatever it is, it's just not good for me. And I also, the other thing I really quickly say is forgiving someone isn't the same as letting them back into your life. right? If I'm going to let someone into my life, there needs to be apology. There needs to be a commitment to change. I need to believe that. There needs to be boundaries, you know, all this stuff, right? So it's reliant upon them, their behavior. And some people ain't no one coming near my life again. People have done things like, you're never going to work for my business ever again after that. But I can still forgive them, because my forgiveness doesn't, this is really key. Don't make your forgiveness is for you, right? So forgiving anyone else is for you. Don't let the fuckers win. Okay? Don't let the motherfuckers win. It's for you. Yeah? And it doesn't rely on them. Because if you do, you're disempowered. They're still in charge of your life.
That's really huge. Yeah. Because pain that's not processed, you're the one that's hurting.
Yeah.
If we lash that out to people, they're not really receiving that energy that we're giving them. We're giving them our energy. We're giving them attention. We're giving them our focus. And we need to forgive for ourselves. I couldn't agree with you more, Mark, that the resentment and the anger and the pain and the frustration, they're real. And we need to acknowledge that we are feeling them.
Right. It's not the same as saying bad things haven't happened, I'm not upset.
Yes.
Forgiveness isn't saying I haven't been hurt. You crossed the line, you did something you shouldn't have done. That's not okay. And also, it's not the same as saying I'm not in pain, I'm not upset about this. Actually, as you were saying before, and it's the opposite, isn't it? We have to have that self-empathy before we can forgive.
Yeah. That is so real. And I'm passionate about that, to acknowledge the energy, how things like depression and frustration and pain can suck the energy out of you, or pushing your feelings away. It's so painful because we're longing to simply show up in the world as ourselves. And the way we behave, if we can't have empathy for ourselves, we definitely can't have empathy for other people. There are two parts to this. How do we be kind to others, forgiving, generous? How can we experience that for ourselves? So really knowing that experience in our own bodies is vital. And if there is anger, that energy has to go somewhere. We need to go and shake or dance and all those things, and run and everything that we do to let the energy move. And as well as that, get underneath the pain and say, what was I really needing? What would really support me? And to do that with supportive people. And it's not the same as going down the pub and going, oh, that person, look at the mess they've got me into. Then they've still got the power. Yeah. When we soften into our own pain, feel it, acknowledge it, discover what we were really needing, and find ways to meet those needs in the present, not in the past, because that wasn't available, we can be softer. And when we're softer and relaxed and our whole body is gentle and open, then we are acting from our own power. We feel that. We show up in the world as the full being in our wholeness. That we always, that's our birthright, okay? To show up fully as ourselves.
Just keep it. We could both of us love a chat, don't we? So well, I know what we're like. Ron and I have known each other for years. We're old friends and colleagues. So much trauma work could be framed actually as self-forgiveness, couldn't it? In the sense of, you know, and Gabor was one of the people I learned this from, this idea that we develop these patterns which aren't bad. They're actually learning as a way to survive. And often people are judging their own trauma pattern, right, as a bad thing, rather than going, you know what, I was really doing the best I could. And even if I've crossed my own lines, my own values, you know, I think sometimes forgiveness can sound very moral, but another way of looking at it is just like, I regret not living according to my highest values, right? And the kind of classic Buddhist way of working with this, I know we have different ways, I'll ask for yours in a minute, Ron, is to reflect on conditions. Like the reflection is like, given the home I grew up in, or given the thing that happened, of course I did that. Of course I developed the pattern of being small or aggressive or nice or clever or funny or whatever the pattern was. Of course I did. Oh, breathing, letting go of the body, that, you know, loving that part of me that kept me safe. And the same with others. You know, look at the conditions of anyone who has hurt you, or be curious. And so I've done this with fairly extreme examples. You know, Hitler, right? Horrible human being, did some of the worst things humanity's ever done. But look at his childhood. Doesn't excuse it. He was sexually abused. He was traumatized in World War One. Okay, this is a person that grew up in a very different time and had horrible experiences. Does that mean it's acceptable? No, of course not. But does that soften me a little bit when I think of a child Hitler being molested? Fucking awful for anyone, right? So that reflecting on conditions can really help.
Yeah, that is vital, because of course it's easier to forgive the neighbor we've got an argument with, or someone in our own immediate family, people whose actions we really don't like, and we fiercely want to stand up for something completely different. It's really hard to recognize that they are also human, and like us, they were trying to meet some needs of theirs, and that was, in the conditions that they were in, that was the best way they knew how to do it. And it's painful to be a witness.
Yeah. And if you find, I just can't do it right now, come back to the self-love, the self-empathy, self-forgiveness, come back to that. Sometimes it's about timing in people's trauma healing journey. There's times when I've sat with people who've been abused and I've gone, we've just said, what a motherfucker, what a piece of shit. We're not forgiving them. We had to be angry with them. That was not okay. I want to punch that guy in the head for you. You know, just, how can anyone do that? Right? Fucking rage. And let that move through. Contact that. If someone's in dorsal shutdown, getting into that sympathetic can be really helpful as a way before you can get into that ventral vagal, actually being able to empathize, actually being able to see that, you know, sometimes that door opens in different ways. I remember one client, I kind of made a joke. I said, right, let's torture this guy to death. And she was like, what? I said, no, I'll get him for you. We'll torture him to death. She was like, no, that's a bit much. And I'm a good actor. So she was like thinking I was for real, right? She thought I was a psycho. She's like, Mark, I know you're mad, Mark, but that's a bit much. So no, I'll torture him and I'll make his kids watch. And she was like, no, don't do that. He doesn't deserve that. And just going that extreme, and this is a technique you can use for yourself. Think of the worst thing you can think of for this person. Would you really want that for them? Would you really want to punish them? And normally when you're honest, you go, no, I just want them to apologize. No, I just want them to see the harm that they've done. No, I just want them to never do it to anyone again. I don't really want that revenge. And that can open up that space to go, you know what? In their shoes, maybe even I would do what they did. That's a really hard move and a big move if you can get there. But people aren't always there yet. There's a journey here, right, Ron?
Absolutely so. I'd like to just give a little example of something that I experienced. When I was a teenager, I was never allowed to go out. I was allowed to do errands and do chores and do my homework. I wasn't allowed to socialize. And it took me, I didn't even know at the time. Obviously, I'm quite outgoing. So that was really quite detrimental for me. I've been doing a book study and I just specifically asked someone, will you help me to go back to that place and actually forgive myself? I actually understood both intellectually and emotionally that my parents were immigrants and they were very much doing the best they could to protect me and to keep me well and safe. Nobody talked about emotions and feelings when I was a girl. Virginia, that was quite a long time ago. And so there wasn't any other way but to swallow. I can feel shutting myself down, my energy of enthusiasm and bubbling and wanting to be with people. I shut it down myself. And that's really, really hard to look at younger me and say, sweetheart, I love you. You really did the best you could do. The consequences of that were that I didn't grow, I didn't learn, I became a mum with no skills, and my journey is to forgive all of that for me.
Right. Like for me, if I go back to a younger version of myself, it naturally softens, and I go, you know what, little Mark was doing the best he could, and that created some patterns which caused older Mark a few problems, right? But I can really forgive him that, because I can see he was really doing the best he could to survive. This is what we call trauma, like it's a pathology. It's not a problem, it's a solution.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a solution that causes another problem. Yeah. Right? So that's the good news, bad news of trauma. It's a good thing, but it causes another problem. Because Patricia said something wonderful about this. I was just looking at the course, reviewing the course that we're putting on the end of this, and she was talking about it's a positive or a negative. Very simple way of explaining it. So it makes you do too much of something or not enough. Very simple way of explaining trauma. I really liked it. She said positive or negative, but both are not in contact with reality. And the child in me I can forgive, and that's another technique, by the way, as well. If you can't forgive the adult, forgive the child version of them, right? Because it's like, it kind of naturally we go, well, okay, can I forgive the teenage version of them? No. Can I forgive the 10-year-old? 5-year-old? Yeah, can't blame a 5-year-old. So that's another way of sort of softening into this. Yeah. And again, I'm going to state this again, because people don't hear this. It doesn't mean not having boundaries. It doesn't mean that apology should be great, but you don't rely upon that. It doesn't mean you accept their behavior or you want it to happen to anyone else. Forgiveness isn't dependent on any of those things, which is why it's empowering. It gets them out of your head where they're living rent free.
Yeah. Very much so. Thank you. I just want to use the word grieving or mourning as a way to do that with other people, and to whine and whinge and moan and express the sorrow and sadness and pain. To let it be known, to be known is so important to us as humans. So we can forgive by letting it be expressed. Grieving, really good to grieve with others and let it go. Because then when you walk away, you don't have that weight. You don't have them having power to keep stopping you functioning in your life today. So that is a very powerful thing to do.
Forgiveness is defiance. If you're a feisty person like me, this is a great frame. Forgiveness is not letting them win, right? Forgiveness is like a stand for yourself.
It is. And these are practices that I'm doing all the time myself. So I can absolutely say I tried it, and it absolutely gives me my power back. So all the times I felt too scared to show up, or someone says something I don't like and I just say nothing, I can be so much more present now because of forgiving, showing up as me completely, letting that be the way I am.
It's like the best revenge is living well. I was horribly treated by school teachers. It led to a lot of trauma in my life. And you know what my revenge is? I became a teacher and I did a better job. Right? Like I became a kinder teacher than they were. Like that's the thing with like not forgiving someone is we could call a resentment. It's this feeling of I'm going to get revenge somehow. Right? And the more I hate them, the more I'm going to hurt them somehow. And here's another little Buddhist insight. You don't need to. And this can be hard to accept, but bear with me. Keep breathing. Someone's hurt you, they're going to get their karma. What do I mean by that? I do not mean the universe will always make them poor or something. There's no magic force like that. They have to live with themselves. I remember I was with some Buddhist friends in Southeast Asia, and there was a guy who'd been involved in the street. We saw him. They said, "Oh, that guy killed a lot of people with the Khmer Rouge." And I said, "Doesn't it make you angry? Don't you want to go hit him? He killed maybe family members or whatever." I said, "Oh no, he doesn't sleep. He does not sleep." So here's the thing about doing harm. And most people don't have much sympathy for perpetrators. obviously you have sympathy for a victim, right? But doing harm also causes trauma. Okay, so people who have done bad things are also suffering. You don't need to be the great God who balances the scales of right or wrong. It's a little bit presumptuous, actually, isn't it? You know, it's already going on. The thief has to look over his shoulder. The murderer is scared of being murdered. This is a psychological law. It's not a, you know, the universe punishes people or something like that, the great arbitrator in the sky. And it can look like someone that's done a lot of harm is doing well. Maybe they've got money or power. But again, I've coached some of these guys. They do not sleep well. This for me opens up forgiveness. I go, there's a balance already happening. There's already a balance happening. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't lock some of these fuckers up in jail either.
Oh, that's absolutely true, Mark. People who are harming are acting from a place of their pain. They haven't got to the place where they can soften and melt and love. They're lashing out from that place of feeling their own pain, and they're going to let the whole world have it. So what we can do is notice it. Those people whose actions I really, really despise. What can I do? Remember that you're part of everything. You're part of the whole community of beings on earth. If we can do that healing and grieving and forgiving for ourselves, we can spread that. So
Right.
Forgiveness, and I seen the question in the chat here.
Yeah, just we've got 5 left. So could you
exactly. So should we look at that?
Okay. You happy to wrap that up or are you good?
Yep, I'm happy with that.
Thanks, mate. Oh, I just felt like we're getting some heavy topics. I can see people are going places. So can I ask everyone just sort of stand up? We'll do a little bit of a land style shaking, I think. You don't have to, if you're lying down or if you're too sick to stand up, you can do it in one hand. You don't have to use your whole body. But I've got a wonderful Buddhist feature on my Zoom called Hide Self View. Okay, so give it a little shake, give it a little wriggle. You can start it off artificially, but then kind of some natural kind of rhythm can come. You can do it the fun way, like a dog getting out of water, shaking the water off, having a little move, feeling your feet, feeling your legs, feeling the power in your legs, those big muscles when you bend your knees. Taking a breath if you're not breathing. Could you breathe a little fuller? Could you enjoy your breath a little more? Got into some beautiful, but also some heavy territory potentially. So where's the lightness in forgiveness? Let me leave you with that as a question. Where's the lightness? Yeah, because it is a lightening process somatically in my experience. Do you get that? When you let it go, when you finally let it go and you go, it's because of that. That's why they did it. I mean, I'm not great, but that's why. There's that breath, right? So we can encourage that through the body. I'd love to hear people's takeaways. I'm seeing a few quotes of me and Ron. So if there's a thing you want to take away that you're going to have tattooed on your eyelids, metaphorically, that you're going to tell your husband about over dinner, that you're going to put on your social media because you want to support us, and putting this link on social media is very good. Thank you very much. Who shared this on social media, actually? Give us one of these wonderful reaction symbols if you've given us a social media share already. I really appreciate it. It cost us £150,000 to put this event on, and we really need to make that back. Social media means that other people will see it, which can be very helpful for us. Thank you so much. Hurt people, hurt people. Yeah, that is a nice summary, Jess, and reflecting on that. And hurt people, people who have hurt people will get hurt. So there's two sides of it, right? Hurt people, but hurt people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know, people who hurt get hurt. There we go. Any other takeaways? When trauma memories strike, move. Yeah, for sure. Movement is your friend. I'm surprised there's so many people are watching in chairs. Like, listen to these walking around the park on your phone. That's what I do generally when I'm not in Moscow. Yeah, don't drink poison and expect someone else to die. Forgiveness is a stand for the self. And you got the basic methods, right? Self-empathy, reflecting on causes, reflecting on consequences. The would I torture this person to death method. Yeah, so one of the ones I play with my clients. Letting go. And there's a journey here, right? So If you're in a place where it's like, hey, this guy just really hurt me right now, no, that's okay. That's okay too. Don't hate yourself for not forgiving. That would be crazy. Yeah, there's a time and a place, and it might not be now. It might be 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You want the final word, Ron?
Just noticing when we are expressing, out like that, drop back into the earth, feel held, feel known, soften the heart.
Thanks, Ron. It's a pleasure to work with you again. You've got some more sessions coming. I know you did the intergenerational trauma one yesterday. Yeah. That was awesome, I think. I heard very good things about that. Virginia, have you got the schedule? Can we see what else is going on? I think I'm teaching about 4 more today. What have we got? Me and Alan coming up in an hour. What works for trauma healing? That's a good one. And then we've got me and Erica. One on money and marketing with me and Erica. Trauma really impacts your business, and most people are utterly blind to that one. What's going on later on when I've gone to bed here in Moscow? Jane and Emma. Trauma, parenting. Trauma, that's a bit slow. Trauma parenting. Patricia's back. Yeah, she's in Mexico. She's on the other shift, Patricia. Forgotten trauma shows up today. Nice. That's a big theme, isn't it? The one on food. I recorded that one, which is why it's at 11 o'clock. I hope I'm not doing that live. Please. Patricia again. Where everyone else is stupid and wrong. That's a great title. I think that's another one about forgiveness, but trauma and anger specifically. Yeah. Confident or compensating. Is anyone a cocky bastard like me? Just me? Okay. Anything else to wrap this up, Virginia?
I've put all the links in the chat, and yeah, we've got Q&A with Roger Mills in half an hour, and then Ilan will be live. So thanks everybody for coming. And just a reminder that you can still share with a friend, somebody who will thank you for exposing them to this information.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I might stay offline for a couple of minutes of personal Q&A for those of you who are here in the exclusive fancy room. So everybody else, see you peasants later. No,
the exclusive room comes with the all access pass, by the way.
All access
still
pass.
Get that.
$20, $19. It's like 20. What's that? 16 euros. Nothing.
Yes.
So if it is not nothing to you, if it is something to you, and you're living in somewhere your situation, then just email us. We might be able to give you to free because we're quite generous. I say it's nothing, but for some people it isn't. It isn't. So let us know.
Stopping the recording now, then.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got some McDonald's.